What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be looking at technical analysis on cryptocurrencies. Something we don't normally do just because I like to focus on equity markets, but I'm going to go ahead and give a little bit of love to our our other asset class, cryptocurrencies. We're going to be looking at Bitcoin, a little bit of Ethereum, Bitcoin dominance, see where we're at with that, as well as talk about Luna and how it relates to the rest of the cryptocurrency realm. So first of all, let's go and look at Bitcoin. As everybody knows, we had our all-time high, 69,000-ish. And November of 2021, ultimately since then we've been falling, had this bear flag-ish pattern happening, ultimately failed on the third test, fell down to new lows, or new local lows, at least for the 2020s, and 2021 to 2022. I mean, we passed the summer lows of 2021 and ultimately have been in this falling wedge pattern, had to break out of the falling wedge pattern on decent volume, not great, not horrible volume, but just kind of like mid, the word I'm going to be using. We need to get above the 32,500 level, or even the fucking 33,000 level, just to be able to get rid of this trap supply that might be overhead, people trying to get out of their positions. So, it'd be nice to be able to reclaim that. We had to reclaim some of the EMAs, the 20 EMA that is, and we're going to have a lot of overhead resistance. Not only that, but we also have the 200-day moving average as well that we had originally rejected off, curling down pretty fast. And that would be overhead resistance as well as this trend line if we do get up to that type of level. I do want to come back to this. But first of all, let's just go ahead and continue talking. Last time we had a falling wedge. We broke out, had a pretty significant volume, but this one was consolidating for a lot longer than this one has. So I don't know if a move like this would be expected out of this type of pattern strictly. There might be other factors that might have to play into that. Again, created new lows. We broke through this 28-ish thousand level. That was ultimately our support. But one good thing to look at is that we look like we're going to have the 10th week, rather than be 10 consecutive red candles. We might actually get our 10th week being green. And if the equity markets thought they had it bad, definitely feel bad for the crypto bros. Hopefully McDonald's doesn't call us up. But anyways, one thing that was nice though is that there was this hammer candle on significant volume, and I had made a post about this on the Instagram. If you don't follow the page already, you definitely should, as I give more frequent updates. But basically, when we had these spikes in volumes, it had marked trend reversals. Basically, these capitulation-like moves that eventually led to, again, trend reversal patterns. There was one time whenever it was gave a false signal, which was right here, but I mean, if you want to say that it was flagging and ultimately marked the bottom, like, you could make that argument. But for me, I'm not going to make that argument. I'm going to say that this failed here. And ultimately, it marked the summer low bottoms as well. And does this mark the bottom here? Who knows? Do we have to wait as long as the summer did ultimately before creating a new higher high? I don't know either. But it's something we're going to need to look at too and look into, guys. But that's definitely what's going on at the moment. Another thing to look at is Ethereum. Currently, what we're experiencing, it looks better on the daily time frame, the lines that I've drawn. Possible trend line that we had, and I was just bullshit and trying to make sense out of random shit. But something that we have had though that definitely has stood its ground is the $1,700 level. Basically, it was resistance support in the past, and currently it was support in the past whenever Bitcoin made its capitulation-like move, as well as support recently, and we've basically been bouncing off of that. Currently, what we have been experiencing is overhead resistance, but if we get out above this trend line as well as above the highs that we made, so about like 2,200, get some closes above that, that would be pretty damn great. We do have a lot of resistances to get up through if we do want to see some new all-time highs or anything above that, but that's definitely what we got to work with at the moment. Head and shoulder patterns, if you want to argue that played out. Basically, we came back to the neckline, so at this point it's really up to what the markets choose to do pattern wise. I feel like equity markets have led the way already, and bond markets and commodity markets, so I feel like the last leg up, not the last leg up, but the last group of investments would be basically cryptocurrencies. And that kind of leads me to the topic that I want to talk about with regards to Luna. There's so much uncertainty macro environment wise that has been happening lately, and Luna just made it horrible for cryptocurrencies. It's already a speculative play as it is, but it made it hard for them to have the trust of investors, people to be able to put big money players to be able to put their money into crypto. That is, this might lead into regulation. It's fearful of that because it could hurt us in the short term. Long term, it's definitely going to benefit us as more bigger players are going to feel more comfortable putting their money into these assets as they feel more safe. But ultimately, any money that's not sitting cash isn't really safe necessarily, nor is cash safe either. So I mean, really, there's no there's no safe area. It's just more safe than a certain other asset group. But I feel like that's why we've been lagging behind the equity markets. However, we're getting this little bump up on again, kind of negligible mid volume though. So we can see if this rally continues in equity markets. We definitely could see cryptocurrencies take off behind them. But again, this kind of leads me to my next topic that I want to talk about when it comes to respect to cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin leads the way. It leads the way on the leg up on the parabolic moves, and also it leads the way when it comes to pitfalls. It's so if I'm going to look back on the Bitcoin, it's basically this orange line that I had laid out behind the candlesticks, which is the dominance. Basically, to make this easier, let me just go and make this 2 lines so we can see. So basically, when Bitcoin makes its last move parabolic rally, that's whenever the dominance goes up. But ultimately, once it hits its peak, whether it be a local peak or whether it be all-time high, basically that's whenever alt season kicks in, and that's whenever cryptocurrencies, other alternative coins, start to have their parabolic rallies and their all-time highs. It takes some time from the peak of actual Bitcoin to their all-time highs, but that's usually whenever the dominance goes down. And then ultimately, whenever it starts to cool off, pull back, that's whenever we start to see this increase in Bitcoin dominance, because basically altcoins already hit their all-time high. Bitcoin's going down. Bitcoin leads the market, so it's pulling them down too. So what's the point of being in altcoins? Basically, if they're so risky and they're going to bleed so much, why not put it in the more safer asset of the asset class, which is Bitcoin, which is what ends up happening. I'll put a chart on here just to show you what type of environments altcoins thrive in, as well as what type of environments Bitcoin thrives in. So basically, like we're talking about, when the fear also comes, whenever we start hitting bottoms, we see these increase in Bitcoin dominance once again. But from there, we might see it go down, as what's called, we feel like we're confident that this might be a bottom. Ultimately it was, but what ends up happening, Bitcoin leads the market when it comes to individual asset classes. I mean, individual assets within the class. It leads the market, and that's why the dominance goes up when it makes its parabolic move. But ultimately, after it makes a move, you might see a decline in dominance, as other asset classes start to become more attractive since it already made its move. Again, we had this whole COVID crash, which is where the dominance also went up a little bit. And that's whenever, there's fear in the markets, and what's the safer play within the asset class? It's Bitcoin. And then ultimately, we made our next move up through the 2020 through 2021. That's whenever the dominance started to peak out. And that's when we had our alt season right there. And basically, the alt season continued even after Bitcoin dropped a little bit, which is actually pretty crazy. Ethereum held up a lot longer and than Bitcoin did, which honestly I experienced at that time, because that's really whenever I got into the markets. I got in right before the whole summer lull type deal happened, which kind of sucks. It would have been nice to be able to get in along the way. But now I'm starting to educate myself on this shit and really trying to figure this shit out. But anyways, hit the lows, dominance starts to go up as the fear is high. There's so much uncertainty. Crypto might get banned. Crypto might get regulated. China banned crypto again. Tesla stopped accepting cryptocurrencies because of the environmental issues. There's something else that added to the FUD. But basically, after crypto started making its parabolic move, it led in dominance on the way up. Ultimately, after hitting the high, we had a little bit more of an alt season. Even heading into the downturn, it wasn't until this moment in time when the fear really started kicking in again. The dominance started going up and up and up and up, and as equity markets continued their losing streak, and Bitcoin continued its losing streak, ultimately leading into the whole Luna situation, which I feel added to this breakout. Excuse me, because if we go back to the candles, we basically had a trend line that was from the peak, and ultimately this last 2 weeks we broke out of it. And again, I feel like the whole Luna situation was the one that kind of fueled this rally to the upside. It was because Luna was Luna, and that's what led to the whole breakout situation. Because again, that's whenever all this turmoil was happening. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. With the one that we're currently in, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, that's why I feel like the dominance went up. There's too much fear. Investors are worried about their altcoins and what was the next best thing to get into, Bitcoin. So I feel like that's what kind of led everything into the path that we are right now. Again, would like to see some more volume come in, and like to see equity markets continue their move, as Bitcoin and QQ are usually tightly correlated. Would be nice to see where we go from here, guys. But that's really all I have to talk about today. All I wanted to talk about as well. Good luck into the markets. We only have a 4-day trading session for equity markets, Tuesday through Friday. Obviously, Bitcoin 24/7. But hopefully we will see some nice moves in cryptos as well as in equity markets, because we're definitely oversold and due for some type of bounce, whether it be sustained bounce and ultimately head to all-time highs. Who knows? But in the meantime, let's go and see some green. The portfolio, maybe lighten up positions, trade more smart. Don't get stuck in holding because that shit fucking sucks. But anyways, best of luck, guys. See y'all later.